Now we will see solubility of solids in liquids. Solubility of solids in liquids means you take a liquid as a solvent, in that you are going to dissolve some solid substance. So in such case, how the solubility is affected, or which are the different types of concepts that comes under this, we will see. Solubility of solids in liquids, when we speak, it is not that all the solute must be soluble in all the given solvents. Say for example, we say sugar solution or salt solution. We know if you add sugar to water, you get a sugar solution. If you add sodium chloride to water, you get a salt solution, isn't it? Same way, if you take that salt or sugar and add it in some other non-polar solvent, say you take benzene as a solvent, and then you try to add it in non-polar solvent, it doesn't get dissolved there. Whereas say naphthalene and anthracene, so which I was speaking, sugar, salt, sugar and salt, they are polar solutes. Polar solutes. Polar means you know which has a positive and negative end. Whereas anthracene and naphthalene, these are non-polar in nature. Non-polar in nature. I mean to say that there is a term, there is a statement saying like dissolves like. Like dissolves like. Like dissolves like means polar solutes will be dissolved in polar solvents only, and non-polar solutes will be dissolved in non-polar solvents only. Are you getting the point? So this sugar and salt, they are soluble in water. Why? Water is a polar solvent. Whereas anthracene and naphthalene, they are soluble in non-polar solvents, say benzene. Whereas if you try to interchange or exchange here, if you say, okay, I will dissolve sugar in a non-polar solvent, in benzene, it's not possible. Or salt in benzene, it's not possible. The reason is like dissolves like means polar solutes will dissolve only in polar solvents. That means polar solvents can dissolve polar solutes only. Non-polar solutes can be dissolved in non-polar solvents only. This is what it means. Why? The reason is because intermolecular interactions will be different if you try to take the things vice versa. Intermolecular interactions must be similar. If this can happen, then we say solubility can take place, or we can study the concept of solubility, or we can see the dissolution process taking place there. Now under this we will learn different aspects of what is dissolution. We will see the first term, what is dissolution. Now say you have taken a solvent, you are adding solute to it. When a solute is added to a solvent, what happens here? Some of the solute particle dissolves in the solvent, and its concentration, that means now say you have taken 4 gram of solute. Out of 4 gram, say 3 gram dissolves in water and it forms a solution. Now the concentration of solute in the solution increases, right? So that phenomenon or that process is called as dissolution. What is dissolution? When a solute is added to a solvent, its concentration, that means solute concentration in the solution increases as it dissolves. This process is called as dissolution. What is this called as? It's called as dissolution. Then what is crystallization? One more term. Dissolution, hope it is clear. We say it is soluble, no? So dissolution, the process is called dissolution. The other term is crystallization. Crystallization means, now when the solute is added to solvent, we said some of the solute particle gets dissolved in the solvent and its concentration increases. What about the remaining solute particles? What happens to the remaining? We said in that, say 3 gram out of 4 gram, 3 gram dissolved. What about that 1 gram which is remaining? That what happens, it hits with the solute particles present in the solution. Now in the solution there are some solute particles. No, with that it will collide and it comes out in the form of crystals. It will settle down in the form of crystals. That is called as crystallization. What happens? Some solute particles collide with the solute particle or with the solutes present in the solution and crystallizes out. This process is called as crystallization. No confusion with this. If it is soluble, we call it as dissolution. If it hits with the other collide particle, say solute particles and crystallizes out, we call it as crystallization. The other term is saturated solution. Saturated solution. Now before going to saturated solution, let me tell you, now what we have done, we had taken solute which we are trying to dissolve it in solvent. Some of it gets dissolved, some of it is getting crystallized out. The process of getting dissolving is called as dissolution. The other part is called as crystallization. This will continue until when it continues, you go on stirring it. You have added enough solute particles and you are trying to dissolve it. Till when it continues is the solvent and solute plus solvent forms solution, and at equilibrium, at a stage this solute plus solvent becomes equal to solution, and vice versa. That means the rate of dissolution and rate of crystallization becomes equal. You know about equilibrium now. Here the dynamic equilibrium will be established where rate of dissolution and rate of crystallization becomes equal. What happens here? At equilibrium, rate of dissolution will be in equilibrium with rate of crystallization. What does it mean? It means, do you mean that the reaction has stopped? No, the reaction is taking place, and with what rate the solute is being soluble, at the same rate the particles are being crystallized out. So you cannot distinguish it. So this state of equilibrium will be attained. And at this point what happens, the solution in which no more solute can be dissolved, is called as saturated solution. Now, say you have taken some amount of water. Say you have taken 100 ml of water. You go on adding glucose or sugar to it. You add 2 gram of sugar, you try to dissolve it. You add still more, say 4 gram, 10 gram sugar, or 4 gram sugar, 6 gram sugar, then 10 gram sugar, say 1 kg of sugar you try to dissolve. Whether it will be soluble, that is a question. So the amount of solvent, particular amount of solvent can dissolve only particular amount of solute. The solution, what happens if you keep on adding solute? If the solute concentration is too much, then the solution, in that solution you cannot expect the solute to be soluble. So that solution, the solution in which no more solute can be dissolved is called as saturated solution. What is that solution called as? Saturated solution. If they ask you to prepare a saturated solution, what do? You take some specified amount of solvent, you go on adding the solute until the point where you see that no further solute can be dissolved. That solution is called saturated solution. Then what is unsaturated solution? Opposite of this. Unsaturated solutions are those in which further solute can be dissolved. Clear? So what is unsaturated solution? Unsaturated solutions are those solutions in which further more solute can be dissolved. They are called as unsaturated solution. Hope it is clear. Now we shall see the effect of temperature on solubility. Remember, we are studying solubility of solids in liquids now. We study different important terms. Now, effect of temperature. Effect of temperature. So, when we consider solubility of solids in liquids, then yes, temperature shows effect here. Temperature is a factor that will affect solubility, and so we consider effect of temperature. Here, solubility of solids in liquids, it can be exothermic or endothermic. It can be endothermic or exothermic. So how do you frame a sentence? The dissolution process can be endothermic or exothermic. Now we have to see what if it is endothermic and what if it is exothermic. If it is endothermic, if the dissolution process is endothermic, then what does it mean? Delta H of solution is greater than 0. This is what it means, isn't it? Endothermic process means delta H will be positive. Exothermic means enthalpy of solution will be negative, less than 0. If the dissolution process is endothermic means already delta H is positive, then with increase in temperature, in temperature, solubility also increases. Solubility increases. Hope it's clear. It's already endothermic process. It's absorbing heat during the dissolution. Then if you increase the temperature, solubility also increases. Which principle is followed here? Le Chatelier's principle is followed. Le Chatelier's principle is followed here. If it is exothermic process, then delta H is negative. Here what happens? If temperature is increased, you know that this is exothermic process, delta H is negative, heat is liberated. So if you increase the temperature, then solubility decreases. Solubility decreases. Clear? Because here it is liberating heat, and if you try to increase the temperature, the opposite of it happens. So according to Le Chatelier's principle, the solubility has to decrease. Whereas this is about the effect of temperature on solubility of solids and liquids. If you consider effect of pressure, if you consider effect of pressure, do you think pressure has effect on the solubility of solids and liquids? And if not, why? The reason is, see, we have taken solids in liquids. So solids and liquids are incompressible. They are incompressible. When we study the physical properties of it, we know the properties of solids and liquids. We know that solids and liquids are incompressible. That means the solubility of solids and liquids does not have any effect with that of pressure. So we cannot say that pressure has some effects on solubility of solids and liquids. The reason is because they are incompressible. Whereas solubility of gases and liquids can have effect. Why? Gas is compressible. But here solids and liquids are incompressible. So if you say it's slightly compressible also, but pressure does not show a effect when you take the solution in whole. So that's about solubility of solids in liquids. And next we will see solubility of gas in a liquid. We will see solubility of gas in a liquid. Here when we say solubility of gases in a liquid, that means a gas is being dissolved in liquid. The best example I can give you, the soda bottle. In soda bottle what happens? A liquid is taken, in that the gas is being dissolved, isn't it? So that is the best example. So we will consider two conditions in which, in one of the condition, these are the particles, these are the gaseous particles in given amount of solid, given amount of liquid, to say. So when the pressure is applied, say amount of gas that wants to get dissolved is W1. If the pressure is increased, what happens? If the pressure is increased means, if again further pressure is increased, all the molecules come closer, isn't it? Volume decreases, and the number of particles, number of gaseous particle that wants to react with the liquid also increases. That means it wants to be more and more soluble when the pressure is increased. Are you getting the point? So what does that mean? With increase, I am speaking about pressure here directly. With temperature, solubility of gases in liquids is affected by pressure and temperature. So first we will Let me make it clear here. Solubility of gas and liquids, as pressure increases, what happens? Solubility of gases also increases. Why it increases? Because at low pressure, say the number of gaseous particle or gaseous atoms that wants to dissolve will be less, but as the pressure increases, more and more gaseous particle will be soluble in the given amount of solvent. Same one example I have told you about this what carbon dioxide being dissolved in soft drinks. When you just open it, you hear a hissing sound. What has been done there? There, carbon dioxide has been um, dissolved in the solvent with high pressure. So, what do you mean? What does that tell you? That tells you that more the pressure, more gaseous particle will be soluble there. Okay, more carbon dioxide would have dissolved, and when you try to release the pressure by opening the knob, then it escapes, isn't it? So with increase in pressure, more gaseous particle will be soluble in the liquid, and that is why we say solubility of gases in liquids increases. And henry was the first person Henry was the first person to explain the variation of the relationship between pressure and the solubility of gas and liquids. So what did this person tell you? No, Henry said that at a constant temperature, Henry said at constant temperature, solubility of a gas is directly proportional to solubility of gas in liquid is directly proportional to pressure, that is partial pressure above the solution. This is again clear to you, where solubility is directly proportional to partial pressure. Partial pressure means pressure of individual gaseous molecules. So one gaseous molecule will have one particular partial pressure. The other gaseous molecule will have one more partial pressure. So individual gas molecules pressure, we call it as partial pressure, individual pressure. So he said that at constant temperature, when the temperature is constant, solubility is directly proportional to partial pressure above the solution. So more the partial pressure, more is the solubility, he said. Then came Dalton. He also explained. Then Dalton, again Henry, he had told about solubility. Then Dalton said that solubility can be explained in terms of mole fraction also, where he said mole fraction is related to partial pressure. Who said this? Dalton said this. He gave an idea of solubility, where he said solubility is a function of partial pressure of the gas. And if you can also use mole fraction as the unit for it. So mole fraction is directly proportional to partial pressure of the gas, was told by Dalton. Here comes an important law called as Henry's law. Henry stated a law, very important. He said the mole fraction of a gas in vapor phase, is directly proportional to the partial pressure of the solution. Or he said the partial pressure of the gas in vapor phase is proportional to mole fraction of the gas in the solution. What is it states? That partial pressure of the gas in vapor phase is directly proportional to the mole fraction of the gas in the solution. This was given by or stated by Henry. And this law is called as Henry's law, very important when we speak about solubility of gas in liquids. What did it state? It states that partial pressure of the gas in vapor phase. In vapor phase means when gas is in its vapor state. The partial pressure is directly proportional to mole fraction, and this proportionality symbol is removed by taking a constant KH. P is equal to KH into X, where P means partial pressure, KH means Henry's constant, and X means mole fraction. P means partial pressure of gas in vapor phase, X means mole fraction, and KH means Henry's constant. And here you know this particular Henry's constant, it depends on the nature of the gas. On what does it depend? It depends on the nature of gas. So this constant was found to vary with the different gases. So it was told that it depends on nature of gas. So this is important. Make a note of this. That is, if we draw a graph with respect to Henry's law, if you draw a graph of partial pressure versus mole fraction, partial pressure versus mole fraction, if the graph is plotted, the graph expected is that it must pass through the origin. So the graph is expected to be a straight line this way. This is based on Henry's law, and make a note that KH depends on the nature of gas that has been taken. And higher the value of KH, higher the value of KH, solubility decreases. If the value of KH is more, that means solubility will be less there. Solubility will be less. And one more point, this was about Henry's law. What relationship it gives between partial pressure of the gas in vapor phase and mole fraction. And the other point is that with decrease in temperature, solubility increases. What happens if the temperature is decreasing? That means solubility will go on increasing. That is why, you know, when we speak about solubility of gases in liquids, you need not only consider soft drinks, you can consider oxygen dissolved in water also. That is why, as I have told you, if the temperature is less, solubility will be more. Therefore, aquatic animals, you can see, aquatic species are more comfortable in cold water than in hot water, isn't it? Than in hot water, it is comfortable in cold water. The reason is because the dissolved oxygen amount will be more if the temperature is less. If the temperature increases, what happens? Solubility decreases. So decrease in temperature favors more solubility. And the applications of Henry's law, there are some applications of it, industrial application as well as biological applications we can see. Few that are mentioned in the syllabus we are going to discuss. One application is that the dissolution of carbon dioxide in soft drinks. As I have told you, high pressure is applied and the carbon dioxide gas is dissolved, made soluble in the given amount of solvent. So carbon dioxide is dissolved in soft drinks by applying high pressure. By applying high pressure. There what happens? I have told you. I need not mention you the hissing sound, and as you try to relieve the pressure, the carbon dioxide being escaped, all those. So that's again an application of Henry's law, where it is telling about the partial pressure and solubility relationship here. The next application of this is in scuba diving. Next application is in scuba diving. Scuba divers you have seen, isn't it? What do? When they dive underneath the ocean, underneath the water body, the pressure will be very high under the ocean. The pressure um, above, that means on the surface, will be less, whereas the pressure will be more underneath. That is underwater, the pressure will be very much high. What happens is, these scuba divers, I have told you, when the pressure is more, what happens? Solubility increases. So what happens? Scuba divers are human beings, isn't it? When they dive inside the water, there the pressure will be very high. So what happens? The amount of gases soluble in the blood will increase. More and more gaseous substance will be soluble in blood. You remember? Suddenly, if they come to the surface, it's very dangerous. What happens when they suddenly come to the surface? There it was very high pressure, but on the surface, underwater high pressure, but on the surface, less pressure. So what happens? Suddenly, if they come to the surface, all the gaseous substance that is dissolved in their blood will try to escape out. It will try to come out. When they try to come out, these nitrogen gases especially, they try to block the capillaries, and it leads to a very serious and painful condition called as bends. In scuba divers, we see a condition called as bends, which are very serious and painful one. Sometimes due to blockage of capillaries, it may also lead to death also. So to prevent this, what will be done? So now we know, because of the application of Henry's law. This because of Henry's law, we know about this. So what is usually will be done? The scuba divers carry a cylinder. We call it as oxygen cylinder. In that oxygen cylinder, some amount of hydrogen, some amount of nitrogen, small amount of helium, these kind of gases will be mixed with oxygen, and then it will be given to them. So why? To prevent this dangerous condition called as bends. How can you define it? Scuba divers, when scuba divers go underwater, the pressure will be high and more gases will be dissolved in the blood capillaries. Whereas if they suddenly come to the surface of water, then the pressure will be less, because of which the gases try to escape, like that of nitrogen, and leads to a harmful, painful and serious condition called as bends. That is blocking of capillaries. That is one application of that is why the oxygen cylinders are filled with some percentage of helium, some percentage of nitrogen, and so on. Say helium 11.7, 11.7% helium, 56.2% nitrogen, and 32.1% oxygen. Oxygen will be mixed in the cylinder and then it will be given to them. This is application of Henry's law. The next application is that high altitude climbers. High altitude climbers. You know, these mountaineers or the climbers, they again suffer a condition. What happens at higher altitude? You know, the pressure will be less. When the pressure is less, what happens to the gases? Whether gases are more soluble? No. Gases are highly soluble when the pressure is high. If the pressure is less, in the mountaineers, usually what happens is the gases cannot be dissolved in the blood easily, like say oxygen. So partial pressure of oxygen will be very less at high altitude. There what happens, because of less of oxygen supply, they will suffer a condition where they will not have the ability to think or to take decisions, like they will be confused or they will not be able to think. Such conditions arise, and that condition is called as anoxia. High altitude climbers suffer a condition called as anoxia. Anoxia is the inability to think or to take decision. So this is again one more application of Henry's law. Clear?